theflyingcat.net. I'm here to talk to you today about Shamanic Journey. There is a free tutorial at theflyingcat.net/journey if you want to go check that out right now, talking about what journey is, why it works, how we do it, and I've recorded a free track for you so you can take a guided shamanic journey right away. It's about 7 minutes, so it won't take that long. But I do recommend writing down anything that you notice or that happens as you journey. And I also recommend that you make journey a practice. So it's not just something you do once. It takes time to go through that process and forge those pathways in your brain. So the drum helps to shift our brain waves. And we cover our eyes to activate our pineal gland. The drum goes at 4 beats per minute to help shift us into a more meditative and dreamlike state, out from our waking state, our alpha, I think it is. So we get out of our kind of linear mind, our day state, and get more into our intuitive dream state, meditative state, and open up to possibilities. And so dream work can be whatever you decide it is. So if you are into, I'm traveling and my soul is going out into the world, that's great. If that's what works for you. Just make sure that you are working with a council of guides and you're very familiar with who's working with you and that it's for your highest good. And if you are more into, I just want to explore my inner landscape, I want to explore my creativity, we use our active imagination for this practice. That's how we get into the energetics of it, is by playing, is by practicing with play and being creative. And so most of my students will be of the mindset when they first come, they're open and they're interested, but they don't believe it. And a lot of times we'll say, oh, I'm just making it up. I don't know, I'm just making it up, or I don't know what happened, or sometimes it's dark for a while, for weeks or months, but you know something's happening. You're just not there yet. So you're kind of breaking through, this threshold between waking life and the reality that we can touch in physicalness and with our eyes and hear with our ears, into that imaginal realm that we can also touch and hear and see and use our senses and our extra senses so we can open up to those things. And we all have extra senses. We all have different ways that we perceive things that we can't perceive with our 5 physical senses. So that gets a little more into energetics, but just to speak of that, some of you may be more visual, some of you may be auditory. You might have heard voices when you were a child and you tried to tell an adult and they said, oh, no, no, no. Or, oh, I see this thing here, this entity or person or friend or grandma. And they go, oh, no, you don't. She's not there. Or maybe they did support you and they said, oh, how interesting. Tell me more. How wonderful would that be? So you're going to be that person for yourself, for your creative self, and say, oh, how interesting. Tell me more. How interesting. So let's, write this down. So I always recommend that you journal when you journey, and I'm not perfect about it. I try to get it every time, but sometimes we just need to do the practice and get in and get out. But highly recommend, if you can, journal, and you'll have an index at the front of your journal, so leave some spaces and give each and every journey a title. You're going to talk about what happened in the journey. You're going to talk about, I want you to pull out your feeling states from there and just list those out. That's really important and key for later when you go back, even years later, and reread your journeys and go, oh, wow, I was really dealing with some stuff then, because of course, when we look back, we can go, oh, yeah, we have clarity. But in the moment, it can be difficult, right, to find that clarity. And that's all I think most of us want, is clarity about what's happening right now, what do I need to do, or what's going to happen in my future, which there are endless possibilities for our futures, but it depends on where we put our energy now. And it's a beautiful co-creation with ourselves, our energy, and our guides and our higher self. And so that's what this practice is all about, is feeling empowered, or being empowered to make autonomous decisions for yourself, even if you're feeling like you have no power. Anyway, so meeting up with your guides, and when you first start journey practice, you might have a sense for who speaks to you, as in who you get inspired by. So it might be animals, or maybe you work with stones, or maybe you work with ancestors, or maybe you're connected to angels, or whoever is like in the realm of what you feel most comfortable with. I would say go with that. In a traditional shamanic journey, we go into the underworld, and typically we try to meet animals, power animals, or guides like that. But oftentimes our guides end up being a tree, or a non-physical being. So some kind of being that doesn't actually exist in our, waking life reality, and that's okay. That might be your intuition speaking to you. That might be your creator speaking through you. That might be, in your imagination, or you actually go out and in your energetic connection, you are having a conversation with the land or your guides from other realms. So it opens up a lot of doorways. But when we first start our journey, just keep it simple. Go into the underworld, ask for help, ask to meet your guide. Do it at least 6 times. And just try it like that. So you can try a track right now at theflyingcat.net/journey, and that is all content that I've created. So if you have questions, write me. I'm Julia Martin, and you can write me info@theflyingcat.net, and I will get your email, or DM me, or write me if you're seeing this on a different platform. Thanks, guys. Blessings.